Hello students, welcome to Zoology Classroom. Today we are going to discuss about classification of animals based on the excretory product. So before entering into the topic, let us know what is excretion. So excretion is a life process. It is very important life process. We know the meaning of life process. So what is a life process? Life process is a process that occurs in living organisms, and that is very essential for the survival of the individual. So if the life processes are not done, the organism cannot live. So in that way, excretion also is a life process. If the excretion is not done in an organism, that organism will die. So what is excretion? So excretion is also a life process, and by this life process or by this excretion, some metabolic waste materials, okay, some metabolic waste materials that are generated in our body due to the metabolic activities, those metabolic waste materials will be eliminated or sent out of the body of the organism. So that process is called as excretion. So various different types of waste materials will be generated in our body. So when we utilize oxygen in the cellular respiration, we know carbon dioxide will be generated. So that carbon dioxide is also a waste material. And in the process of proteins metabolism or amino acids metabolism, some nitrogenous waste materials will be generated. These nitrogenous waste materials are like ammonia, urea, and uric acid. So those are also waste materials. They will have to be expelled out of the body through kidneys. And in these some other life processes, in some other metabolic activities, some excess water, excess salts, excess minerals also will have to be sent out of the body. So these all these excess water, excess minerals, salts will be sent out of the body through skin in the form of sweat. So in this way, lungs are sending the carbon dioxide, kidneys are sending the nitrogenous waste materials, and the skin is sending out the excess water and minerals or salts. So in this way, the skin, kidneys, and lungs, these are referred to as excretory organs. But in true sense, excretion means not the sending the carbon dioxide, okay, not sending out of the body is sweat. Okay, so actually, we refer to excretion as sending the nitrogenous waste materials out of the body. So in that way, kidneys are the true excretory organs. So this excretion is in contrast to secretion. Okay. So here in this thing, what happens in secretion? Some secretory products will be secreted by the cells of the glands. Okay. But here in this excretion, the substances they are leaving the cells. But in this excretion, what is happening? The products are required by some other parts of the body, so that is not equal to excretion. So in secretion also some materials will be going out of the cells, but in secretion the secretory products will be utilized at different parts of the body. Say for example, hormones will be secreted by the endocrine glands, but these hormones will not go out of the body. These hormones, they go to some other places in our body and they do some other works, some other important works there. Likewise, enzymes also will be secreted by the glands, and they also act at the area where they are released, like digestive enzymes. So in this way, secretion is quite different to excretion. So in secretion, the secretory products have some specific functions. They will be remaining in our body only. They will be doing some important works in our body. But whereas in excretion, the excretory products, they will not stay in our body. They will be sent out of the body. They have to be sent out of the body. Otherwise, they will be acting like a toxic materials, so that that leads to the death of the organism. So in this way, excretion is very important life process. If it is not done, the organism will die. So why excretion is needed? So why we have to excrete the some materials out of the body? So let us know the details or regions for this question in this slide. So metabolism includes both anabolic activities and catabolic activities. In anabolic activities, small molecules will join to form bigger molecules. Whereas in catabolic activities, bigger molecules will be broken down into smaller molecules. So examples for this anabolic activities are protein synthesis. So in protein synthesis, smaller amino acids will be joined together with peptide bonds to form bigger protein molecules. Whereas in catabolic activities, bigger molecules will be broken down into smaller molecules. Say, for example, in cellular respiration, glucose is broken down into carbon dioxide, water, and ATP molecules. So example for catabolic activities are some protein metabolism and amino acid metabolism also. So in this catabolic activities, what is happening along with some other waste materials, nitrogenous waste materials also will be produced in the catabolic activities of amino acids and nucleic acids. So in amino acid metabolism and nucleic acids metabolism, like nucleic acids like DNA and RNA, in the metabolism of DNA and RNA, and in the metabolism of acids and proteins, some nitrogenous waste materials will be generated. So from proteins and lipids, sorry, here I have typed the wrong. So from carbohydrates and lipids, okay, from carbohydrates and lipids, no nitrogenous waste materials will be produced. So nitrogenous waste materials will be produced from only amino acids, proteins, and nucleic acids metabolism, but not from the carbohydrates and lipids metabolism. Okay, here this proteins is the wrong term. It should not be there. Here should be the term this carbohydrate should be here. Okay, so this is a typo mistake. So for omit this, forget this one. So like this, from the carbohydrates metabolism and from lipids metabolism, nitrogenous waste materials will not be produced. So the nitrogenous waste materials produced from this amino acid metabolism, protein metabolism, and nucleic acid metabolism are in the form of ammonia, urea, and uric acid. Okay. So these are the three important waste materials that will be produced in the metabolism of proteins, amino acids, and nucleic acids. Apart from these three major nitrogenous waste materials, some other nitrogenous waste materials also will be there. They are produced in minor quantities or negligible quantities. Examples for them is creatinine, guanine, and allantoic acid, like that. So different types of minor amounts of some other materials also will be produced. So all these nitrogenous waste materials must be eliminated from our body. If they are staying in our body for a longer period of time, they will act like toxic materials, and that will lead to the death of the organism. So in this way, all these nitrogenous waste materials, they have to be sent out of the body. Otherwise, we will die. So that's why we have to excrete them. So how to excrete them? So in the life processes, so right before from the birth of our life till we die, every second at a given at any given second, many life processes, many metabolic activities will be going on in our body. So in this way, many this what nitrogenous waste materials also will be produced in our body at every given point of time. So we have to get rid of them. We have to send all those nitrogenous waste materials out of our bodies. So how the animals are sending these nitrogenous waste materials? Let us know the answer in this slide. So in case of protozoans, we know protozoans are single-celled organisms or unicellular organisms. So they will send these nitrogenous waste materials through their body surface or through the plasma membrane by diffusion process. Poriferans are also, even though poriferans are multicellular organisms, their body, all the cells of their bodies are in contact with water, so that all the cells which will generate this nitrogenous waste material, they send these waste materials into water through diffusion process. In coelenteраtes also the same process. Through diffusion process only, they will send these waste materials to outside of their bodies. So in these three organisms, separate excretory organs are not there, and they do not require them also. Coming to platyhelminthes, as the platyhelminthes, they have somewhat complex bodies. So inner side cells, they have no access to the exterior. So whereas in the case of protozoans and porifera and coelenterate, almost each part of their body, they are in contact with exterior medium like water. Okay, but this in platyhelminthes and in the organisms that come later, in the all higher organisms like Nematyhelminthes, annelids, arthropods, molluscans, echinodons, and chordates. So in all these organisms, some tissues are inside the body and they are not in contact with the exterior. So that a separate system is required in these organisms to collect the nitrogenous waste materials from inside parts of the body and to send them out of the body. So that's why from Platyhelminthes phylum onwards, the animals, they have required a separate system to collect the nitrogenous waste material. And we call that separate system as excretory system. So in this Platyhelminthes organism, excretory system is made up of flame cells. And in Nematyhelminthes organisms, rennet gland cells are there. And in annelid solenocytes are protonephridia. Different types of protonephridia are present in different classes of annelids. And in arthropods, they have got Malpighian tubules, and some other arthropods, they have got antennal glands, maxillary glands, and coxal glands. Coming to molluscans, they have metanephridia type of nephridia. And in echinodermates, surprisingly, echinodermates, they are higher animals than these annelids arthropods, but these echinodermates, as they have separate special type of body structure, they do not require any special type of excretory organs. Instead, they perform this excretion function through diffusion, like protozoans, porifera, and coelenterate do. And coming to chordates are having a very complex body structures, so that these chordates are also, they require a presence of a excretory system. So in different types of chordates, mesonephric kidneys and metanephric kidneys are present. In higher animals like birds and mammals, metanephric kidneys are there. These metanephric kidneys are very, very specialized and highly complex structures. So these are very powerful kidneys. So with the help of these excretory systems, the animals are able to send the nitrogenous waste materials out of their bodies, as they are getting rid of these waste materials. So what to excrete? So we have seen what are the different types of excretory materials. So out of them, three are very major important nitrogenous waste materials are there. They are ammonia, urea, and uric acid. So how they are formed? As I have already said, these waste materials will be formed in the amino acids, proteins, and nucleic acids metabolism. So in the metabolism of these amino acids and proteins and nucleic acids, deamination reactions and transamination reactions will be there. So in the metabolism of these amino acids, proteins, and nucleic acids, deamination and transamination reactions will be done. So with the help of this deamination reactions, by this deamination reactions, some amino acids, they will be losing ammonia. So ammonia will be produced in the deamination reactions of amino acids and nucleic acids. So this ammonia must be eliminated from our body. But this ammonia in almost all organisms, in almost all animals, in the first instance, okay, at the beginning of this metabolic activities, ammonia is the first waste material. But depending on the animals in which areas they are living, this ammonia, either it will be secreted in ammonia form, or it will be converted into urea, or it will be converted into uric acid. So ammonia will be generated at the beginning of these deamination reactions. In some animals, ammonia will be secreted in as it is form. In some other animals, ammonia will be converted into urea through urea cycle or ornithine cycle. And in some other animals, this ammonia will be converted into uric acid. So these are the three different types of nitrogenous waste materials: ammonia, urea, and uric acid. So the animals will choose depending on their habitats and depending on their needs. They will choose what type of excretory materials is to be eliminated. So here you can see these two arrow marks. So the upper arrow mark is showing that more energy needed to produce these things. So ammonia requires less energy, urea requires somewhat more energy, and uric acid requires much more energy to produce these organisms. So in the lower arrow, it is showing that more water needed to excrete. So to excrete urea, okay, this arrow mark is from this right to left direction. So to excrete uric acid, less amount of water is required. To excrete urea, somewhat moderate amount of water is required. But to excrete ammonia, a lot of amounts of water is required. So depending on the water needs, okay, depending on the water needs, the organisms will choose what type of nitrogenous waste material is to be eliminated. So in this way, the animals can be divided into three types: ammonotelic animals, ureotelic animals, and uricotelic animals. First of all, let us see about ammonotelic animals. So ammonotelic animals exhibit ammonotelism. So ammonotelism is nothing but excreting ammonia is called as ammonotelism. So the organisms which exhibit this process are called as ammonotelic animals. Examples for these monotelic animals are bony fishes, and bony fishes mostly that live in rivers or freshwater bodies, and aquatic amphibians and aquatic insects. All these organisms are example for ammonotelic animals. So why? Because these organisms, they are living in freshwater bodies. So they have a special problem of osmoregulatory problem, that their bodies will be receiving lot of water from exterior. So from the surrounding water media, water will be entering into their bodies. So they have a problem of excess water in their body. So to get rid of that excess water, they have choose this ammonia as the waste material. So what is happening? They are getting rid of this ammonia, and as well as they are also getting rid of excess water from their bodies. So that one shot, two birds, like that, they are getting rid of this ammonia and as well as the excess water also. So that's why, as they have got a problem of receiving excess water from surrounding media, they have chosen this ammonia as a excretory material. And to say to generate this ammonia, they require less amount of water also. Coming to other type of animals called as ureotelic animals. Ureotelism is nothing but excreting urea as the major excretory product is called as ureotelism. So in this process, actually ammonia will be converted into urea. Ammonia will be added to carbon dioxide. So ammonia and carbon dioxide both will be joined together to form this urea, and the synthesis of urea takes place in our kidneys. And for to this process, in this process, okay, kidney, the liver will be liver will be producing urea, and the urea produced by the liver will be excreted with the help of these kidneys. So in this way, these organisms, they are getting rid of urea. Examples for these ureotelic animals are mammals and terrestrial amphibians and marine fishes. Fishes that live in sea waters, they excrete urea. So why? Because they will get a moderate amount of water. So like freshwater animals, they are not having a lot of water coming into their bodies. Are purely terrestrial animals, they are not at the scarcity of water. So their body fluids are having moderate amounts of water, so that urea can be excreted with this moderate amount of water quantities. So that these organisms, they have chosen urea as their waste material. Coming to other type of organisms, uricotelic animals, and organisms, they exhibit uricotelism. So uricotelism is nothing but excreting uric acid as the major nitrogenous waste material is called as uricotelism. So the organisms that exhibit these uricotelism are reptiles, birds, land snails, and insects. So all these organisms that are shown in these things, they are at the they will be receiving a less amount of water, or they will be living in those areas where water is very scarce, so that they have to conserve water. As we have seen in the previous slide, to excrete uric acid, less amount of water is required. So to conserve water, they have chosen this uricotelism method. So as they are living in areas where water is very, very scarce, so that they have to conserve the water which is present in their bodies. So to conserve water, to save water, they have chosen this uric acid. But one problem is that to generate or to produce uric acid from ammonia, lot of amount of energy, ATP, has to be spent. Even though they can spend the ATP, but they cannot get the water. So that's why, even though they had to spend a lot of energy to generate this uric acid, they have chosen this method. Why? Because water is very, very precious than ATP. So they can eat and get energy, but they cannot get water. So that's why they have chosen this uric acid as a excretory material. So, and this uric acid will be in the form of pellets or semi-solid, semi-liquid paste-like structure. So with a minimum amount of water, they can excrete this uric acid from their bodies. So in this last slide, we can compare these three different types of organisms: ammonotelic, ureotelic, and uricotelic. So ammonotelic organisms excrete ammonia. Ureotelic organisms excrete urea, and uricotelic organisms excrete uric acid. And this ammonia will be formed in liver by deamination of amino acids. Not only amino acids deamination of nitrous, nucleic acids like DNA, RNA also. In those metabolic activities also, this what ammonia will be generated. And this urea will be formed in the liver itself by ornithine cycle or urea cycle. So here in urea, what happens? So in liver, what happens? Ammonia will be joined together with carbon dioxide to form urea. And whereas uricotelism also, uric acid also will be produced in liver by ionosinic pathway. And least amount of energy is required to generate ammonia. Moderate amount of energy is required to produce urea. High amount of energy is required to produce uric acid. And ammonia is very, very highly toxic material. Urea is less toxic material. Uric acid is non-toxic material to the organism. So this is highly toxic material, ammonia, but it is highly soluble in water, so that when this ammonia is added to lot of amount of water, it becomes less toxic and it can be sent to the out of the body. And this urea also, it has a moderate amount of solubility capacity in water. So, but this uric acid, this is insoluble in water. That's why the urine of these uricotelic organisms will be in semi-solid form. And this ammonia will be excreted very rapidly. So organisms cannot store ammonia in their bodies for a long period of time. As soon as the ammonia is formed, immediately that has to be excreted out of their body. So why? Because this is very, very highly toxic material. That's why ammonia has to be sent out of the body immediately. But urea, for a comparatively for a few hours of time or few days of time, urea can stay in our bodies or in our blood, so that will not lead to a problem. But if the urea is about to stay in the blood for a longer period of time, then it will become a problem to the organism. And uric acid also, it can be excreted very slowly. It can stay in the body for a longer period of time also. Why? Because this is non-toxic material, so that if the uric acid is going to stay in the body of the organism for a longer period of time also, that will not cause any problem to the animal. And this ammonia will be very dilute. Why? Because it is added to lot of amount of water, so that it will be in very dilute condition. And urea will be somewhat concentrated condition. And uric acid, it is very fish-like material or semi-solid pellet-like material. So that this is highly concentrated material. And to eliminate 1 gram of ammonia, 500 milliliter of water is required. Of liter of water is required to send 1 gram of ammonia, whereas to send 1 gram of urea from our bodies, out of our bodies, 50 ml of water is enough. And coming to uric acid, 1 gram of uric acid requires only 10 ml of water, so that we can compare this amount of water that is saved by these uricotelic organisms and ureotelic organisms. So these are the differences between these three types of organisms. So with this, we have finished this today's topic. We will meet with other topic in next class. Till then, bye.